Hey everybody, I'm Angela Ragsdale and I am here with Jimmy Burgess. We are both with Berkshire Hathaway Beach Properties, 30A Real Estate.
Yes.
And Jimmy.
It's been an amazing year, hasn't it?
I know.
Yeah, this is one of those situations, Angela, where we are at a place where, it's been a very difficult year for a number of people. And what I don't want to do is discount the fact of so many people that are suffering. But what I do want to speak to is where the real estate market has been along 30A. And what's been pretty amazing is to see that we've had 60% more transactions this year in the middle of this pandemic than we saw last year. I mean, literally we went from over 1,500 transactions this year to where we were at 970 something last year.
So it's safe to say the real estate market in the area is up?
I tell you what we're going to do today is we're going to tell you guys exactly where the real estate market has been, where it's headed, and what we anticipate where the opportunities are for you guys.
So Jimmy, what a year, right?
Yeah. So, this is one of those years where when we started out the first of the year, we were showing some strength in the first quarter, and then all of a sudden we all got kind of unexpectedly everything stopped. And there was that time, really middle of March, where we had a time frame where all of 30A, we only had five transactions that went pending because everybody was like, what does this really look like? We've never seen anything like this. This is something that, a lot of people were wondering, okay, well, is this a pullback, a crash in the market? What happens? And really, from our perspective, what we were anticipating is we've been here before. Our area is pretty resilient. If you think about this now, I've been doing this 27 years down here, and so we've seen some things from hurricanes going all the way back to Opal for me. We've seen times when we had the oil spill scare where we just saw everybody just what's going to happen here, and we had that pause. And every single time there's been that little bit of a disruption, we've seen that our market is extremely resilient.
And given the nature of the disruption between the consumer and the professional, who saw what coming?
Well, I think everybody was trying to figure it out, but some of the things that we tried to focus in on is you try to focus in when you've got this disruption, what's not changing? The sugar white sand beaches were not going to change.
Yep.
The crystal clear water was not going to change. The desire for people to have the family atmosphere that we have was not going to change. So from that perspective, we knew that was going to be something. We did not realize how much that was going to be magnified of what made our area so attractive to people to begin with. If you're sitting in a large city and you take 1 week a year or 2 weeks a year to go on vacation and you come to the 30A area, what are you coming for? You're coming for, less density, for more of a family atmosphere, almost like walking back in time where kids are riding bikes and you're going to the beach and you're swimming. And it was like everything that made our area attractive, all of a sudden as this continued to go on, everybody became more attracted to more of what they had in the past and what our area offered that a lot of places weren't offering.
And I think people really reprioritized what is important to them.
Yeah.
And they took action on it, didn't they?
Yeah, I think there were a lot of people that have been saying, we're going to buy that beach house when? Or, when we get through this, we'll do that. And all of a sudden you get to a place in life where you're like, hey, things can change so fast. And it begins to make a priority of what's truly important for you. And when you start thinking about what's priority, it's family, it's legacy, it's memories. I always say this, people, if I go back and I think about what is it that people, if I say, what is your best childhood memory? Immediately somebody thinks of a family vacation. A lot of times it's a coastal memory along the beach. And anybody that's visited here, typically it's on that beach. So what it's done for us as some people that were looking to purchase down here that were either grandparents or parents is, you start thinking about legacy. And all of a sudden you start thinking, well now, if I'm thinking about legacy, how do I frame myself in my kids and my grandkids' legacy? And the way you do that is those memories. So if my memory is a family vacation to the beach, how do I make sure that I'm in that picture with my grandchildren?
And it's that ownership. Exactly. And I think a lot of the generation that started vacationing down here is now the buyer.
Yes.
They're here.
Yeah, this is the thing that's typically for us, and we watch this a little bit. We really watch the bed tax revenues. And the reason why, and if you're not familiar with what that is basically our bed tax revenues. That is the short-term renters, a week or less, that come in, they pay a tax to stay in that short term. The reason why we watch that is because our market is almost like a it's something that kind of foretells what's to come on the selling or the buying side. And so as long as we see that continuing to grow through a combination of prices going up on rentals and less vacancy, then we kind of have a feel for what's going to happen in the next couple of years on the sales. Typical buying situation is somebody comes, they visit our place for the first time, and they're like, wow,
yeah,
I had no idea.
Yeah.
You know, they come the second time, they're like, wait a minute, we love this. This might be our place. Third time they come, they're like, could we own here? And typically that third, fourth, fifth time is when they buy. So if we see that bed tax revenue continuing to raise and we continue to see people coming to our area, then we know that those are the people that are probably going to be our buyers in the next 1, 2, 3 years. One thing that's happened with this since we've seen the pandemic come along, though, is we've had people that are coming, they're literally coming here for the first time.
Yeah, and uprooting their families from where they are. Most of them are urban areas.
Yeah.
And this massive urban exodus is happening.
Yeah.
And we're lucky enough to be able to have those people now as our neighbors.
Yeah.
And you've been in this area for a very, 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 very long time.
I know, I know, yeah.
And I know you've seen a lot of changes, and you are clearly very enthusiastic about the area. Why? Why here? Why not down the street or somewhere else? Why the 30A area?
You know, what's exciting to me is that there were sacrifices for me after leaving college to come and to make a living in Walton County, you know, where I grew up, you know, my home. And home always calls you, you know, back.
Yes.
And so one of the things that's exciting for me is like with my daughters now, there is opportunity here. They don't have to sacrifice. There are opportunities here, especially as we've seen the changes where people can work from home, or they can work, you know, from afar. They can they can work from anywhere.
Yeah.
So when you have that opportunity, that's what's attracted so many people this year is as they've realized that, well, if you've got the option and the choice.
Which is really kind of a blessing from this pandemic, that now people, we're moving away from the office culture a little bit, and people are finding out that they can do their work remotely, and why live in an apartment cubicle in an urban area when you can come here and be surrounded by all of this beauty. That's
the thing. Think about that combination. Think about the sugar white sands. Think about the emerald green waters, crystal clear. I mean, the combination of that is, the Choctawhatchee Bay on the north side. You've got 25,000 acres of state-owned, undevelopable land that's going to give you the less density that you hear every time you turn on the TV that people are desiring. And then you've got the southern hospitality and a community that really embraces new people, new thought, new ideas. And that's the thing that's so encouraging right now. You know, like you said, I've been here my whole life. I've never been more excited about what's happening in our area from a couple of standpoints. I mean, we're drawing people. There's so many interesting people. We were talking about this the other night. I sat at dinner and I sat across people that had moved here literally in the last 6 months since the pandemic. And I had someone that had started an orphanage over in Africa that I was talking to. Wow. And then I sit over here and I've got someone that is in the music industry. And then I've got somebody sitting over here that's from New Mexico. We never had people coming in here from New Mexico. All of that has changed as we've had more access. And as this place becomes more and more known, I mean, in reality, I'll just, you know, we were ranked, what was it, the 6th fastest growing county percentage-wise last year. I'll be extremely surprised if we're not
moving up in rank.
I just don't see how we don't. And I will say this, I've never met a single person that has taken the leap and bought here or has moved here especially that has not looked back and said this was the best decision ever.
I agree, and you're sitting across the table from one of them. We're transplanted 15 years, but this is the best thing that we have ever done for our family.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people, as they begin to think about it, you know, we begin to get to a place where you know, why would you invest here? You know, is the question. A lot of people say, well, maybe we'll just come a couple weeks a year. So why is it that people decide to go ahead and buy? You know, and a lot of it is it breaks down to, and I'm just going to, I mean, obviously we've talked about the lifestyle. We've talked about those things. You know, we haven't talked about the diversity of people here. You know, when you're in a place like this, the creativity just
oh my gosh,
is incredible. I mean, everything from, I don't care if it's chefs, musicians, artists. I mean, it's literally like a weekend for us is getting on the bikes, riding through to an art show. Even now, you know, even with everything going on, having that opportunity that they aren't having other places.
One of the things that I love about this area too is it's so health conscious and so active that it really, if you're open to it, it really will heal your mind, body, and your soul.
There's no
and
doubt.
just catapult you to a new level.
And there's so many different options.
Yes.
From being out here in the bay, paddle boarding, whether it's being on kayaks, whether it's biking on the bike path along 38,
or
the
even
forest.
through the Point Washington forest,
Everything, there are so many different activities available for people. There's something for everybody.
Yeah. So what would you say to the person that is looking to buy along 30A right now?
Yeah, I think everybody's situation is different. I think you've got to be thinking in the long run. I would never make a suggestion if somebody's in here and this market is hot right now and they're saying, well, gosh, I'm going to buy this and see what happens in a year or two. In reality, I think you ought to be looking at this from a long-term perspective. That's just prudent, in my opinion.
Right.
And I think you want to be selective. What's great about our market is the diversity of opportunity, whether it be condominiums, whether it be bayfront living, whether it be gulffront living, or somewhere in between. Also, we've got some amazing neighborhoods from Watercolor and Rosemary Beach and Alice Beach. So you can really find something for everybody here. I would say the most critical part is finding the right person that knows the area and that's living the lifestyle. Because when you come down here, if you aren't sure exactly what would fit, when you find the right person, that person that's been doing this and kind of understands the neighborhoods, they can really identify, okay, well look, I think you ought to see this. And if you don't have that person that's pointing in that direction, sometimes it's hard to find it.
Yeah.
And in reality, in this market right now, it's even more important because a lot of the transactions that are happening with people that are friends of ours that are like, I really don't want to put my house on the market, but if I could find this, I would probably sell my house.
That leads me to my next question, is what would you say to the person that is thinking of selling their current home to change their lifestyle within the area?
Yeah, I think that's what we're seeing a lot of. We very rarely see people that sell to leave our area.
Right.
It's kind of unique. We see people that sell to reposition. So they will sell, especially after they spent more time here this year. A lot of the calls we're getting is, you know what, we really need that pool. Or, you know what, we had more family here than we thought. We really need that fifth bedroom or that fourth bedroom.
Right.
So people are repositioning. So if you're at a place where you own a place and you're thinking about it, there's never been a better time. Tax laws right now, as we're recording this, with a 1031 exchange, which gives them the ability to basically punt down the line the capital appreciation they've got as far as their capital gains taxes. They can then find the right place and roll into it, and they can take the equity they've got. Interest rates are historically low. Money's so cheap that in reality, if they've owned something for 3-4 years, they've got so much equity that they could then roll into the dream place that's really their dream when they thought this was their dream. So it's a great time from a seller's perspective. If you're thinking about making a rotation, there's never been a stronger seller's opportunity to make a change than there is right now. We had a record year for rentals down here. Now, what happens is the rental income floats your values up also. Because if you're able to have income, you're able to see the value of the percentage to make it a better investment. So think of this, all of those people that we had come here this last year. Think about the time when, hopefully, this spring or this summer especially, when they just open the gates and people feel comfortable to go fly again.
Right.
People feel comfortable to travel. Odds are, at least the people I'm hearing from, they're not going to Europe this year. Even the people that had been planning to, they're going to hold off a little bit. So this summer is probably going to be one of our biggest years ever, rental-wise, which is going to feed all of our restaurants, which is going to feed everything that it does, and hence feed our real estate market. So extremely bullish on this year. Now listen, my biggest concern is to watch the numbers. We don't want to see something that we've seen in the past, which is a 60% increase in values, a 50% increase in values. If we're looking at the numbers last year on the average price per square foot, because I like to look at that a little better than just the average price, 17% increase. Strong. That's the first double-digit increase we've had since 2005, so 2004. So it's been steady growth. This is our first little bump. But what I don't want to see is I don't want to see that go into a hyperbolic move on prices to the high side, because at some point, at that point, people begin to, you see buyers and sellers begin to separate on what they're willing to pay and what they're willing to sell for.
Right.
So what we really want to watch is those numbers going into the end of next year, into the next year. We want to make sure we see some steady growth. One thing that we've never had before was, because of the way that we had so much cash coming into our market, literally from 2011, 2014-ish, over 60% of the transactions that were bought, places that were bought here, were paid for with cash. So we've got a foundation in our market financially we've never had before. I've never seen it 27 years doing this here. And we've also got a place now where interest rates are historically low. So when you're looking at that, all of a sudden now you've got I mean, it's almost like the perfect storm for our area.
Right.
You've got high demand, you've got low inventory, you've got interest rates that are extremely attractive, you've got some of the most beautiful beaches in the world, and you've got an area that's getting press that we've never gotten before on the national level. It's literally the opportunity to see our place really become something that we always thought it would be, but we never knew it would happen this fast in reality. Well, listen, I've got to be honest, Angela, all of this talk about real estate has got me a little hungry. I know it's happy hour here. The sun's getting ready to set here at Farm and Fire. We got some pizza hopefully waiting on us. So if you guys need any information or you're looking to figure out what's going on with the real estate market, 30arealestate.com is a great place to start. It'll show you all the homes and the condos that are currently for sale, and you can get all the details there. We look forward to talking to you guys soon.